And good morning, everyone. This is Art Shead. It's time for the show. Let's be reasonable. And of course, it's Sunday morning. Um, I wanted to spend a little bit of time to talk about a conversation I had on TikTok. I got invited to a TikTok live, and sure, why not? I think they invited me because I responded maybe a couple days before that saying Biden would probably win the 2024 election for president this coming November. And I said margin of 48-46. So, you know, Biden supporters, obviously, this particular group, they were happy for me to respond and be in agreement with them. So, a couple of days later, I get an invite to come to their their discussion, and I sat and listened to a few people um, talk about their issue. They were using, terms that, quite frankly, I wasn't familiar with, like. I mean, they used all the pronouns and stuff like that, to which I was like, that's, I don't traffic in pronouns. I address a person as sir or ma'am, or whatever the case may be. I don't, beyond that, do I need to know your pronouns or do you need to know mine? I don't, not my bag, right? So I'm sitting there listening, and some guy gets on, and he is just talking. Obviously, you can tell I can't say is conservative. He just brought up the issue of paying migrants these gift cards, um, and whether or not that was true. And of course, everybody on this particular person's channel, his moderators jumped on that and were vehemently discussing the fact that that's not true. And they would cite the AP article. This article here that I have in front of me is from the Tampa Bay Times, but they would cite the AP article. And I'm pulling it up too right now. So they were citing how it's not true. And, I made a comment. I just made a simple comment. And I suggested, how do you know that's not true? I just want to be thorough in how it is that I come to agree or disagree with what someone may be saying. So I made the comment that how do you know that that's not true? I mean, how do you know that migrants aren't receiving gift cards of $5,000 or better? And it's been reported in several different sources. And I made a comment, just because a source says that it's true or not true, is there any type of check that you yourself can call upon in order to determine whether that's true or not true? And man, I mean, the comment section went wild. I mean, they completely went berserk. They're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're a Trump supporter." And everybody at that point became, you got to be careful who you let in here. There are plants, and there was this one girl who said she was a Trump supporter, and she was trying to explain that she had never heard of some of these terms that they were throwing around, and they were just like, "Oh well," asking her what color was she, because one of the terms was BIPOC, and I was like, what the hell is that? What the hell is a BIPOC? But it's people of indigenous and color, whatever the heck. I can't remember. That's how you might say in on that. That I don't care about those particular types of terms. I mean, that they just change some words around and make it sound different. So I'm like, whatever. So they were going off on her, and then they're going off on me in the comment section, and I'm just kind of putting forth a plausible. It's one thing for you to look at an article and say you agree with it, right? It's another thing entirely to look at an article and be able to supply some of your own objective facts to a situation to determine whether or not it may be true or not. So, the only thing I was trying to say was that, well, $5,000 is an awful lot of money, right? So, and let's assume that the reports are correct, because in the article they talk about, some 12 million people who have streamed across the border since Joe Biden's been president, and they're getting these checks. And I'm like, okay, so let's just do the freaking math, right? If you did the math. And so I just, I'll do it here. You won't be able to see this, but I'll do the same math. I'm like, okay, so that's 12 million people, right? Getting checks for $5,000, and that's like 60. That's $60 billion. All right, that's 1 month. Okay, so that's 1 month. So multiply that by 12, right? So here we go. Multiply that by 12. That's $720 billion that would be floating out there. And it would have to be, these checks can't come out of general revenue, right? They would have to come out of, Medicaid dollars. So you can go to CMS information, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and look at their budget, right? Look at the budget over the last, you know, 4 years, and see if there is any cause for alarm. In other words, if you can see $720 billion flying out of the Medicaid system, then it could be said that this information is true. But wait, right? Wait, let's think about it some more. 12 million people. Now that, there's got to be like some families mixed in there, and there are families. So, and there are, some individuals, unaccompanied minors, and all the rest of it. I just don't see them handing checks out to unaccompanied minors or gift cards to unaccompanied minors. So I cut the number in half. So that's what I'll do here. Cut the number in half, divide by two. And now we're down to $360 billion that I would be looking for in CMS's budget. Okay. So, CMS's budget, and I'll show that information in a second, but just so you know, I mean, all of this information, what I am doing is processing which one of these sides I tend to agree with. You know, based on my own research. I don't like people doing my research for me. I would like to do my own research. And that's what I try to tell everybody. Do your own freaking research. Don't just buy what people are telling you in an article. And look, I think some articles have a tendency to try to lead us in a direction. And I think some journalists are pretty straight up. They're just presenting the facts, right? So you need to understand the difference between the two. And for some of these people, they just can't do that, right? And then remember, I'm talking to a group of, I would tell you, are far leaning left progressive Democrats about this particular topic. Obviously, I have someone at my front door because my dogs are going nuts. So let me give a quick cursory look and see who's there. Okay. And, someone's dropping off a package, but we'll endeavor to persevere. So, anyway, know your information. And when you look at the information, be able to present your own facts to support whichever position that you're leaning towards. So when I look at the numbers, I don't see $360 billion flying out of the Medicaid system in order to support migrants coming across the border. Not happening. All right. So, you can do this game all day long. What if the number was half of that, right? Okay. You can look at that number too and say 130 billion, right? So now we've gone from 720 to 360 down to 130, right? 130 billion. Can I find $130 billion No, I can't find that either. So we can continue to cut these numbers in half, right? But at the same time, it really just means one thing. I mean, obviously, a part of this story in particular, the Tampa Bay Times story, can't be true. It's not possible because that type of revenue would show up in the budget. So it doesn't. But but before I could even get to this point, I had already been kicked out of the group. So there was that. But anyway, so I decided that I would go down through the Kaiser Foundation's independent source of information just to see if I can find 12 million migrants receiving checks, just to kind of support the fact that, well, I mean, at first glance, I guess I should say at this point so far, based on the numbers, I'm looking for something like an additional 130 billion, right? On top of what we're currently already spending, right? Now, in order to get there, I would also have to see a number for, let's just say, people coming across that border, right? The majority of them are going to be Hispanic. So I'm looking for something that would suggest that there has been an explosion in the number of, let's say, Hispanics that are receiving Medicaid assistance, right? And what do they get assistance for? They obviously ask assistance for health issues. And then also they provide some like TANF and some other stuff, some money for food, and so I'm looking for that. So what I did, go to Kaiser, I put in the distribution for non-elderly Medicaid by race and ethnicity, right? So there you have it. Well, why'd you do it by race? Well, that's because I want to see if there are an alarming number of migrants who happen to be Hispanic, right? Alarming number Hispanics, just to see if that number matches up. So I went from 2008 to 2022 just to kind of look at the percentage. And I won't, let's just look at the top line here. Let me go back up here. Let's just look at the top line. And we're looking at the United States, and it's broken down by race. And again, this is 2008. In 2008, for the year, 42% or let's just say 42.7% of white America, non elderly, were receiving benefits. 22.7% of African Americans or Black people, non elderly, were receiving benefits. 26.9%, this number right here, Hispanics, 26.9% were receiving Medicaid assistance. All right. Non-elderly. When it comes to Asian, Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, 3.3%. American, Native American or Indian, Alaskan Native, 1.1%. Multi-race, biracial kids, I guess you could say, as an example, 3.3%. So for a total of 100%, right? So that was 2008. Now I'm going to just kind of flash. That's 2009, 2011. Let's look at 2000. Let's just get to 2014, 15. Let's get to 2016. So this would be the last year of the Obama administration, right? And we're seeing 41.4% non-elderly white, 19.7% non-elderly Black, 29.6% non-elderly Hispanic. So at 29.6, let's go back over. Remember what that first number was in 2008. 29.6 versus 26.9. That's 26.9, right? And we said 26.9. And now it is 29.6. So there's an increase there. And actually, percentage wise, a 3% increase is a substantial number. Okay. So let's see where we are going forward. 29.6 in 2016. In 2017 for Hispanics, 29.7, up by a basis point, right? In 2018, 30. 29 to 30. Okay, up percentage wise from 29.7, up a couple, 3 basis points. All right, so that's 2018, 2019, 29.3. Okay, 2021, will we skip 2020? I guess we did. 2021, Hispanics 29.2. So that number for the last few years has held pretty steady. 2022, which is the last reported year that they have 29.5. So 29.5, 29.2. Number still is accelerating, right? 29.3. It's kind of stabilized at 29%. Okay. But up 3% from 2008, right? From 26. So 26 to 29, up 3%. Okay, so at this point, I know there's been a 3% increase on Hispanics receiving aid. Can I then tie that to those migrants coming across the border? So I would need to know, what is the total population of Hispanics in this country, right? And what is that total pop? Well, I mean, obviously we could do the numbers, right? So let's see. Okay, so in a nutshell, what do we got? We got an increase of roughly 3%. We know the entire Hispanic population is somewhere around 65 million people. So we're saying about 3%. That's, well, no, not 3%. I'm sorry, 30%. So that's roughly, what is that? 18, almost 19 million people, right? Total Hispanic population. Remember, this report is giving us information on the people receiving Medicaid assistance who are non-elderly, right? So 12 million people that they reference can't be 12 million Hispanics newly coming into this country. It has to be over a particular period of time. And I would imagine, give me a hot second, we can probably show it here on, let me just put it in. How many people are, okay, let's look at the number of Hispanics. So there we have it. So let's see. 64.9. So I was right, 65 million. That's today. That's 2022 numbers. They're taking this, and this goes all the way back to 2011. So 52 plus 10, 52, 62 plus another 3. So roughly, so they're saying over a period, let's say from 2000, I think they're taking it from 2008 going forward. So they're saying 12 million undocumented people over that particular period of time are receiving assistance. So, anyway, but we know the number for Hispanics that are non-elderly is like 18 million. So then the numbers there don't add up right for that piece. That's just one piece. Now, remember, the other component is the aid that they're receiving. So can we find the Medicaid budget that has exploded? Okay, so, all right, so I can see that. Okay. Oops. Okay, so there. All right, so this is the Medicaid spending. This is brought to us by USA Facts. Okay, so there is an explosion that takes place between 2000, let's say, 6 to current, right? So we do see an explosion in Medicaid dollars. I imagine we could probably quantify it and find out how much, but when we look over the year over year, down at the bottom, they kind of give us a bird's eye view. In 2022, it was 824 billion. 2021, 748 billion. 22. Okay, so the number, it moves, but it's moving incrementally. It's not a dramatic, what we say, 570 billion this year. over last year? No, it's not a. It's really, when you really look at it, it's 100, almost like well, from 750, that's like 70, let's say $70 billion increase. So we don't see year over year 12 million migrants. It's over a span of probably like 10 or 15 years. And we don't see that explosion yearly. Let's say the budget for Medicaid going up some 300 or $500 billion. That's not happening. They're talking about it over a particular period of time. So when you look at that article again, the Tampa Bay Times, they're talking about $5,000 gift card. No, that again would show up in the budget. Uh, that expenditure would be, again, if you gave it to everybody, 570 billion. You're not seeing that. You're not even seeing half of that, 360. You're not seeing a quarter of that total number of 130 billion. You're seeing on average an increase annually of about $70 billion. Okay, so is there a number that they're giving migrants? I would say there probably is a number, but when you look at the number in its totality, um, it's not extravagant. A number nonetheless. Okay. So, should we be addressing that elephant in the room? Of course we should. Right. But bottom line is, for me, I didn't even get a chance to address any of these issues with my, ultra, I guess you would say, liberal friends, because once they learned that I was using, I guess, some degree of common sense in order to make my calculation, they didn't want to hear that. They just wanted to make sure that somebody was, with them, ride or die, I guess. So, if you're looking at for that for me, so I'm here to tell you that's probably not going to happen. So I mean, I look, I try to be objective on all of these points because I think the objectivity is what ultimately ends up winning the day. Uh, it may take some time to get there, but ultimately it will win the day because cooler heads will prevail. The rational person will win out. So it's just only a matter of time. So anyway, folks, look, I'm not going to bore you anymore, but I just thought I'd let you know. I mean, I can't go anywhere, you know. Bottom line is, Art Shead, people have to take Art Shead in small doses. And if you can accept the small doses, you'll be okay. But if you try to go into depth with me, I may ruffle your feathers, obviously, because I'm going to think about it, and I just require that everybody do the same thing. I just don't look at an article and agree whole ham salad like with anything they're saying. There's a process for me, and there should be a process for all of us. So all that being said, folks, hey, that's the program for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to the next one. Have a good day.